I'm back with your last and final day of the Enlightened Mom's Holiday Stressbuster Toolkit. I'm Terri Amos-Britt, and today I'd like to share a story with you because we've been doing all of these tools to help you get through the holidays, right? Energetic tools, thoughts to chew on. Well, I practice these tools every day of my life, and I want to invite you to do this because tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and then we have Christmas Day, and the whole point of this holiday is to celebrate Christ, right? We're celebrating his life, his birth. Well, each of us have that kind of love inside of us. It's that essence of God that we are all a part of. The story I want to share with you is something that happened to me a year ago that kind of explains what we've been doing over these last 10 days. If you go back to my blog of December of 2011, you would see that I got really, really sick last year, very sick, and to the point where I was going to need to have surgery for Chiari malformation. Here in the States, it's a very intense surgery where it's, from what I understand, like 7 hours. They go cut out the back of the skull, they go into your spine and cauterize it to create an opening so that the cervical tonsil, that little pointy thing at the bottom of your brain, won't jut down too far. I was having vertigo problems and starting to lose some feeling in my foot. You can go blind, you can go deaf. Well, I asked for a kinder, gentler way because I said, okay, God, I'm ready to do this surgery. But if there's a kinder, gentler way, please show me the way. And the next day, this miracle occurred. I ended up at the mall by my house outside eating and saw this dog, pointed it out to my husband Charlie. We went over, started talking to the lady with the dog. Her husband walked up and I said, I know you, because he had done some work for us on our roof some years prior. As we began to talk, I remembered that he liked motorcycles and boats like we did. And I said, "Are you still doing that?" And they said, "Well, we were, but our son's been very ill this last year." And the mom said, "Yes, he's got this thing called Chiari malformation." Well, my mouth dropped because that's what I had. So I sat down and I said, "Is he getting the surgery?" And they said, "Well, he is scheduled for the Chiari Institute in New York," which meant that he was going to be doing the brain surgery. Or I guess it's what you would call it, it's a skull surgery where they're going through the skull. They said, "But have you heard about the doctor in Barcelona?" So I said no, and they explained to me that there was this amazing doctor in Barcelona who did a cutting-edge surgery. Instead of going into the skull, he went into the base of the spine, and there's a tendon there that connects to the tailbone, and by releasing that tendon, like clipping it, it releases your spine so that it can relax and the cervical tonsil is no longer pulled down into the spine. Well, I was like, whoa, I couldn't believe it. It was like I asked for a miracle yesterday and it showed up. I was in alignment with God. I was being in a loving space and surrendering, right? So 6 weeks later, I ended up having the surgery. Over that 6 weeks period, I just kept meditating and praying and cleaning up my fears and going within and using all the tools that we've been using over these last 10 days. So as I was doing this, I was also trying to plan where I was going to stay, because I was going to stay for 3 weeks in Barcelona, thinking that you had to be there for 10 days because you had to do a follow-up checkup, because the surgery, it was only 45 minutes and you're out of the hospital the next day. I mean, that's how gentle the surgery is, right? So I'm looking at places to stay and I can't make a decision. And I'm thinking, it's my brain because nothing had been working right. And Charlie said to me, he said, honey, he said, if this was you normal, in a normal place and, in space in your mind, you wouldn't even be questioning this. He said, you would be saying, this is a sign and I'm just going to let it go. And I said, you know what? You're right. You're right. This is a sign. So I said, I'm just going to book the hotel for a couple of days. Well, I ended up booking a magical hotel in Barcelona, the Hotel Muri, which if anybody wants to go there, it's a beautiful boutique hotel, but I only booked it for a couple of days, not knowing where I was going to stay, but knowing that it would show up when I got there, right? Well, the first day we get to Barcelona, I am in the hotel and I'm feeling a little bit better because I've been taking some time to do nothing. I set everything down. I looked at the brochure just to see what was going on around the area because I didn't want to go to bed. We needed to get our bodies acclimated to the time, right? So I saw that there was a monastery tour. I'm sitting there reading the brochure and I said, "Oh my gosh, I've been hearing for months that I needed to go to a monastery." I just figured it was some quiet time. But I said, "Do you want to do this monastery tour, Charlie?" And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we called down to the concierge. They booked it. We were on the bus that afternoon. As we were going along the bus to the mountain of Montserrat, about an hour away from Barcelona, the tour guide says, "This is one of the 7 most sacred mountains in the world. People come here from all over for pilgrimages and to have an encounter with God." Well, Charlie and I were looking at each other going, "Woo." Then we find out it's all in honor of the Divine Mother. That the belief at this monastery is to, when you honor or when you are gentle, like the Divine Mother, when you love and nurture unconditionally, it takes you to God. Well, I was blown away by that because the work that I've been doing all these years is the Enlightened Mom work. So it was kind of interesting to see it culminate like this. Well, I get up to the monastery and find out there's a hostel there that you can stay in to do a pilgrimage. Well, there was my answer. I knew immediately I wanted to stay in that hostel. I wanted to be in that sacred space to do my healing, and that's what I ended up doing. That's why I couldn't figure out what hotel to stay in, right? So I ended up staying there. But as I absorbed the energy, and you could feel the energy there, everybody did, not just my husband and me. I mean, we both feel energy, because we're real tapped into it. But most people are not tapped in because they're so busy with their lives. But I went around and asked people because I was walking on the mountain just a few days after my surgery, and I'm walking around saying, "Do you feel the energy? Do you feel the energy?" And people went, "Yes, you can feel it. Your whole body's vibrating." What I learned while I was there is, as I just mentioned a second ago, is that the Divine Mother takes you to God, is what the monks in this monastery, this is what they believe. I know from my own experience that years ago when little Terri, the little girl inside of me, showed up after asking to be unconditional love, and then in one day in meditation, there she was. There was this little girl that the Divine Mother did take me to God. Tapping into the loving, gentle side of me, accepting myself unconditionally, is what brought me to miracles, is what brought me to abundance. It's what allowed me to receive this beautiful gift of having a miracle show up one day after asking for a kinder, gentler way than having a hardcore surgery, and then ending up in a magical place like Spain and at that monastery. So the reason I share this is because all of the tools that we've been talking about over this last 10 days are tools that have helped me get to this place of opening up to receive. We have this belief in our world that we have to deny ourselves to be loving. But to deny yourself means you separate from God. It means you disconnect from your heart. Through these years, I've been honoring and loving the way I was created and chipping away at all the old false beliefs that told me, "You can't be who you are, Terri. You can't speak. You can't be an intuitive. You can't be a healer," because those things went against the grain of what I had been taught. By loving myself unconditionally and being that Divine Mother to the little girl inside of me, I found God. I found that source of peace, joy, and love inside of me. And as a result, my family changed, my world changed. I found my calling to do this kind of work. So when you think about this holiday, think about how you can connect to that Divine Mother inside of you and nurture that child inside of you. And then through that connection, be an expression of love for your family and the people you come into contact with. This is truly giving birth to Christ within. This is tapping into that consciousness of love, peace, joy, and abundance. Because how wonderful is it that we can surrender and have miracles show up like I did when I found out about this doctor a world away and ended up really being on a magical adventure. So I encourage you to think about this holiday. What can you do to love and nurture yourself through this holiday? Because that's truly how you get rid of the stress. That's how you step into abundance. And that is my greatest prayer for you and for the world, that we can all tap into these kinds of miracles, that we can tap into that source of love and nurturing and kindness. Because as you do it for yourself, it will overflow to your family and the world. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here and being a part of this series. I felt called to do it, and I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I got to share these tools with you and a little bit of my story. I wish you the happiest of holidays and peace, joy, love, and abundance every day of this upcoming new year. Bye-bye.